The biggest battle we will ever have to face is the battle between you and you. It's the battle of taking your mind to that limit and then breaking through. On the Mindful Experiment podcast, we will share concepts, universal laws, and interviewing individuals who have done just that, who have gone through the dark times and through those moments allowed their light to shine bright. I'm your host, Dr. Vic Manzo, and I want to thank you for listening to the podcast and taking this journey with me as we discover different avenues to break through those limits, expand your reality, and evolve into the person you desire to be. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This podcast is sponsored by Empower Your Reality. It's an online university and also a one-on-one and group coaching business that's there to help enlighten, to raise the consciousness, and help the individual truly thrive in every area of their life. We have a new online class that is now available called Life Mastery. And what this 5-week course is all about is teaching you the rules of life, how to create life mastery in your life, how to become the master of your life to thrive and create all that you desire. In this 5-week course, we dive deep into spiritual laws, universal laws, quantum physics, neurology, functional neurology, to back up all the concepts that we bring to the table to give you a platform to utilize and to really help grow and expand. Right now, we have a ton of amazing bonuses that are going on while you sign up for the class, and we even offer a 2-week money-back guarantee if you don't like the program. To check out more about it, go to www.empoweryourreality.com. Now, back to the show. Hey guys, it's Dr. Vic, and you're listening to another episode here on the Mindful Experiment. Excited to have you on, as I have an amazing and very powerful individual who you'll feel her energy right when she gets on. She is just got this amazing energy, and the information she shares on this podcast is just powerful. We had a great interaction. She shares her story, her ups, her downs, her tribulations, her triumphs, everything that happens in life and how she continues to move forward. We talk about the darkness, even though there's the light, and experiencing the greatness, but also the work behind the scenes. And we get into so many different things to talk about the law of the 1% growth and the law of compounding effect and all these different things that we get into. It was amazing to have the time and to share this wonderful experience with Staci Wallace. Now, for those who don't know who Staci Wallace is, she is a serial entrepreneur and a leading expert in the field of business psychology and life mastery. Her specific focus is on helping CEOs, influencers, and entrepreneurs make essential life and business hacks that lead to greater profits and ultimately building a life and business they love. For over 30 years, Staci has been shifting the mindsets of great leaders and teams as an engaging speaker, thought leader, business executive, and the author of 8 books, including Fueled by Fire. Staci has shared the stage with 5 U.S. presidents, helped build businesses into hundreds of millions in revenue, and has led sales teams into hundreds of thousands. She is currently the host of the Comeback Small Business Radio Show, founder of the nonprofit EM Women, Empowering Women, and EVP of a strategy of Voxos, a 15-year-old telecom company bringing new school marketing platforms to small business owners throughout the world. She is a co-founder of Empower You Publishing, and it continues to help CEOs and innovators bring their biggest stories to life. As a corporate executive, her unique business acumen and mastery strategy skills give her a confident understanding of the physical, psychological, and emotional dynamics leaders must master in scaling great companies today. She has dedicated her life to teaching leaders micro distinctions and creative life hacks to live a balanced and deeply rewarding life while driving highly effective outcomes in the marketplace. What an episode this is. I know I'm going to have her back on soon. So without any further ado, I don't want to take a lot away from her, but sit back, relax, and enjoy this wonderful episode with Staci Wallace. Well, Staci, welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be fun. I've already enjoyed the pre-show, so it's good.
There's a lot in common here, and we have a lot to chat about. So I'm excited that you're here. Finally able to connect. I know there's some hiccups we had, but I'm happy it's all happens for the right timing. So, as always, with people who are on the podcast, I always like to get a backstory, like be able to have listeners connect with you. So, how is it, when it comes to what you're doing in today's world today? How did you get there? Was it, what was it a straight narrow path? Was it bounce around a little bit? How did you get to what you're doing today?
I think it's funny because people are like, "Oh my goodness, I've never heard of you. You're like an overnight success." I'm like, "That was one long night. If that was an overnight success." And it is. It's amazing because I think a lot of times once you get to a place of critical mass and people hear your story, you're doing the TED Talks, you're out in the public as an influencer, but what people don't realize is what it took to get there. And the process behind the pressures that we face is really what makes life so sweet. I grew up, I was a preacher's kid. So, I was taught when I was a kid, don't drink, don't chew, don't use the F word, don't go with boys that do. And I was that goody two shoes little girl growing up. I just wanted to make mom and dad proud. I wanted to make God proud. So I became really addicted to performance culture. Everything I did from a little girl, starting at 4 years old, I was on stage singing at church. Then I got picked up for some pretty big gigs singing with a 21-piece orchestra. I sang at the Olympics. I was in Broadway musicals. And so I had success early on as a little girl, all the way up till about 20 years old, got nominated for New Female Vocalist of the Year. And really, it looked so great. By the time I was 21, I fell in love, married a rodeo cowboy. He left me in 7 months. And it was like my beautiful Cinderella story. The pumpkin appeared and crashed, and everything around me crashed. And that was one of those seasons, like, I think it's beautiful right now where people are at is some people are sailing through this, COVID pandemic, racial tension, riots and wars. And then others, their pumpkin has crashed. They've had that fairy tale idea of life completely come to a halt. That happened for me early on in my life. And I believe that setback in my life intentionally set me up for this season of my life. I just turned 51. And so this is a latter rain jubilee for me of being able to now take the stories that I've gone through and the life that I've lived, the successes, 30 years of success in business, and in ministry and music and authoring 8 books, all of those things. It's because I didn't quit in the pit, right? I didn't quit in those seasons where it was so devastating and so difficult. So I came out of that season. I went through suicidal depression in my early 20s. It was tough. I had this ideal dream life of what a good little Christian girl was supposed to end up looking like, and I didn't end up looking like that. I ended up being pretty broken. But I ended up going to an event. One day I was watching TV and I was flipping channels, and I saw this motivational faith-based event. And I remember saying, all right, God, if you're real, meet me at that event, or if not, that's where I'm killing myself. And those are some pretty tough words, but I went to that event and obviously something happened because I had this incredible awakening that just because I had had a setback, just because I had messed up, I had made some bad choices in my life, what I would consider at that time failures, it didn't mean that my life was over. It just meant that I needed to, if I'm going to fall down 7 times, I need to make sure I get up 8. And so that event inspired me to believe that God still had a plan for my life, and that there was something that I was supposed to do on this planet. At that time, I had 5.5 octaves like Mariah Carey. So I was, still had my voice. I still had my life. I still had my body. There was, at that season, I met a gentleman named Zig Ziglar. And he used to say on stage all the time, he would say, don't count the disadvantages that you have, count the blessings. Look at what you do have. He was talking to a young man that was so negative about his job, about his life. And he said, son, be thankful that you've got a job, there's a lot of people who don't. And so it's all about perspective. And so fast forward, that season of my life, I also started selling water filters. And my dad told me you need a side hustle. Can't just do singing. You never know when you're going to have ups and downs. My first paycheck was $8,976 just because I was a good communicator. And that entered me into a world of sales and marketing. I've been doing that for almost 33 years now. And God has just blessed me tremendously to do it at the highest C-suite level as an executive now, and traveling around the world and helping people. You know, our company, VoxOx, we're in Malaysia, we're in South Africa, we're all around the world. And we help small businesses have a big voice. We help them utilize what they've got, whatever that is, whether it's a brick and mortar, a restaurant, a pizzeria. And we show small businesses and large enterprise companies that want to white label our product. We show them how to basically have their own comeback. Right now, a lot of companies, they are making that big pivot, making that turnaround. So without wanting to talk about me so much about all that history, it's really, when you have a setback, don't take a step back, but get ready for your comeback, because sometimes that setback is actually a set up for you to reinvent your life. I had to reinvent my life. I ended up recording 5 CDs, but my greatest use of my voice ended up coming in corporate America, where I train leaders who help leaders. And so now I'm not just going one-to-one, I'm going one-to-many by impacting leaders and helping raise them up with business psychology and growth hacking. And I love what I do.
What a story. I love it. I mean, the whole success there. I mean, success is obviously a blueprint for you, but there's also that some people look and go, well, she's just successful. Everything she does is just successful. But at the same token, there's also the mindset, the other aspects of you that you're like, you gave it your all. God, meet me here or else, right? This is it. This is my last line. And I apologize. I was laughing because I was like, I've said that before, like, God, meet me here or else, not that I'm going to end my life, but it was like, I'm done. I'm turning a corner then if this doesn't happen. All right. Yeah. And it's one of the things where you put it all out there. And I think that's one of the things. The other thing you mentioned I thought was really powerful in your story is that, a lot of times people see what's in the light, but they never see what's in the darkness, right? Or behind the scenes, what you see in front versus what's done in behind. And I think that's a lot of times where, people are like, oh yeah, you're successful. Look at all the awards, look at the accolades and all the credit, all the things that you've accumulated. But then there's like, yeah, but look here, what I've been doing behind the scenes. Look at what I had to go through. Look at my struggles. My life wasn't just all happy and bliss. And I share this because for me, I always used to think when I saw people who were successful, they have it all. They got everything they want. Their life is perfect, right? And then as I got to know some very successful people, I was like, what do you mean you have struggles? What do you mean you went through a depression? And you're successful. How did you go through a depression? You have everything. And then hearing their stories inspired me to be like, wait a minute here. I have it all wrong. My mindset's not, the way I'm seeing things is not really crystal clear how it really is.
I have a book that just came out called Fuel by Fire. And it actually came out on my birthday, December 8th. And so the great thing about it is that we are not refined by soft things in our life. I was a basketball player and got picked up for the junior Olympic basketball team. So I was very much of a tomboy. You don't become a class A athlete just because you float on the floor. You come because you get knocked down, you get punched, you get double teamed, you get triple teamed, but you keep driving the lane. You keep dropping the 3-point shots. I mean, I was skinny, scrawny. I couldn't even get it up to the goal, under the goal, let alone get a 3-point shot. But I just kept shooting. I just kept practicing. When other kids would go to the parties or go to the football games, I went to the gym and I would practice hour after hour. I started and I would say to myself, if I could just get 2 free throws in a row, I'll go home tonight. And I would shoot and shoot and shoot until I got 2 in a row. And then the next day, I got to get 3 in a row. And, maybe the next week, it was like I'm working up to 4 in a row till eventually I could shoot 25 free throws in a row. What was I doing? I was forcing my personal best to get better. And that's what happens is a lot of people say mentally, and they convince themselves, I'm doing everything I can. But that's just not true. There's always more you can do. There's always a way to hone your skills, to practice, to pick up another social media piece of etiquette. We have a community called Fueled by Fire, and it goes behind the book, but it's actually a movement. And Vic, it's actually about, it's a movement for women. And we're teaching women how to get out of that mindset that says, I just can't. I've got so much going on. It's just too much. We say that on a daily basis. All of us do. And the more, I like to think that God thinks we can do more than we can, but the more that comes at us, and as women, we multitask. The number one most powerful piece on a chessboard, my son's a incredible chess player. The number one piece on a chessboard is the queen. And the reason why the queen is so powerful, and this isn't like female over male in any way. I'm so not about a feminist movement. I am about people doing what you're called to do and doing it in the space that you're called to do it. So a queen is the most versatile piece on a chessboard. She can go forwards, she can go back, she can go right, left, diagonally. It gives her 100% mobility. And so that's why the multitaskers, they're better, because what's the job of the queen on the chessboard? To protect the king and his kingdom. So it's not just so that she can bounce around and go, I am powerful in and of myself, although that's great. It's really because I play a bigger role in the ecosystem of the universe. I play this, if you elevate up, and instead of just looking at me, myself, my title, how I am exposed, the awards I can achieve, and you go up to a 30,000 foot view of what's happening, or even a galactic view of what's happening on the planet, you realize, man, I'm a part of a massive ecosystem. And if I quit on my part, then it's like the butterfly effect. Something is going to be affected, that the world will not be as good as it could have been if I would have just showed up and said yes. So every day, even though I'm asked to do things, I have absolutely, I didn't go to college. I don't have a fancy pedigree. I didn't have rich parents. I just kept showing up, Doc, and I kept saying yes. And every day I'd get up. Some days I'd be in the fetal position. I can't take anymore. I would get up and I'd go, okay, but just one more day. Yes. And in that day, all of a sudden somebody's life has changed, or I'm introduced to a new idea, or I get an idea for a book. It's just every single day, that progress, taking it one step forward.
I think that's really critical, and it's a mindset to have, where I love the energy you bring to the table on this too, because it's that continually moving forward and just going and grinding. We were talking about this before, right? That 1%.
Yeah.
And I'll have you share what that is in a second, but it's that constant, just continually to move forward and do the work and constantly just keep showing up. And I love when you brought up like the galactic view, right? I'm all about human collective consciousness, and I talk a lot about this in my book and all these other things, and how there's all these levels of programming and consciousness evolve, and how we're all giving to it, right? Whether we know it or we don't, we all give to that. And it's one of the things where, how are you showing up? Because imagine if Steve Jobs didn't show up. Imagine if Bill Gates didn't show up. Where would we be? I wouldn't be able to talk to you in this Mac right now through my computer here. I just wouldn't be able to. It wouldn't exist. And so it's that type of thing, and that's the power we have. And I love you sharing that, because I share that too, where it's like, hey, there's this unique and beauty within you, and you got to keep shining. You're going to go through a coal doesn't just become a diamond like this, right? Just like sports, you kept saying, free throw, 2 in a row. That's all I want to do.
Right.
3 in a row, then 4 in a row. And I like to use Michael Jordan. You brought up basketball. I'll use Michael Jordan as an example. He talks about how he missed 9,000 shots in his life, 26 times game winner, missed it. And it's one of the things where, did he stop? By all means, he didn't. He kept shooting. And I remember growing up, my dad used to get frustrated with him because he'll watch a Bulls game, and he'll only make he'll should have 20% is what he had for the day. He shot 40 shots, only made 8 or 10. He's like, see, he's just a ball hog, and look what he does. And I'm just like, but look, he shows up the next game and he'll shoot 50% in, and he scores 50 points. I'm like, can't win them all. So it's one of those things. So talking about all this, what is the 1% method? What is that, and how is that? Because to me, I think it's hugely pivotal. It's a law of compounding effect plays a role in that. But you probably know all these things already. So what's that 1%, and how is it critically important in life in general? Not just, we'll talk business, but then maybe we can tailor into personal too, and how that plays a role.
Yeah. Well, first off, MJ's like my man. Growing up, that's my season, right? So he was my mentor. And, I mentioned before, Zig Ziglar, I ended up getting to travel with Zig for 12 years. We did these big stadium events where I would we would all speak at these events, take our turn. And I love proximity of who are you attached to? And it makes a difference in progress, because I didn't know Michael Jordan. I was just a kid. I was watching it like everybody else. I was watching him show up with the flu, playing through the championship game and still crushing it for his team, coming back after a halftime where they're completely down. He's puking in the locker room and yet he gets back out on the court, just like and let me just again speak to, whether you're a guy or whether you're a girl, you're going to hear that voice of, I can't. It's just too much. This is not my day. This is not my year. And those voices want you to partner or resonate with the negative of darkness. If you resonate, if your words begin to line up with the darkness that you're seeing, you become the darkness. You blend into the darkness. Resonation is a powerful thing. So, for example, in Carnegie Hall, if you took a piano in one part of Carnegie Hall and had another grand piano just all the way in the back part of Carnegie Hall, but if you hit a chord on one piano, it would automatically resonate, and the other piano would pick up that chord and it would hum the exact same chord. That's called to resonate. So we have a choice in life of what we resonate. If you want to resonate with hype and negativity and riots and anger and malice and disagreement and discord, eventually that's going to get into your family. Your kids are going to be fighting. Your kids are going to show out. You're going to find out your business is not doing what it should. But if you just take your mindset and you do a reset and you say, wait a minute, my life is my life. I get to choose what I say. So today, everything around me, and this is how we crushed it through COVID. We didn't resonate with the darkness. We didn't resonate with sickness. We didn't accept it. We weren't willing to be impacted by it. We saw it all around us. But every single day, I would pray over my kids and I would say, no matter what, don't speak sickness out of your mouth. Don't allow it to come into your body. Don't think about it. If the news is talking about it, don't study the news about sickness. Study the light. Study what you just begin to say. I'm healthy. I'm strong. I'm victorious. Nothing can affect me. And what happens, it's crazy. It sounds like so name it and claim it. But the energy that we project and the words that we say is the same energy of attraction that we suck back into our life. So we become more susceptible to things that are around us. And that's why proximity is important. Who are you talking to? Who are you studying? Whose podcast are you listening to? Like, everyone should be listening to your podcast because you're putting out such positive energy. And when we talk about the 1% factor, progress it's an amazing phenomenon. But again, if you resonate with digression, if your friends are trying to get you to look back into history and convince you that that's you, you're missing progress. You're missing forward movement. Somebody in the middle of catastrophe, of anxiety, of disappointment, Albert Einstein said, in the midst of every challenge lies great opportunity. So while there's going to be people, probably the majority of people will look back and fear. But there will be some people who crush it and they'll make millions and billions of dollars because they're looking forward to answers. They're looking towards progress. So I'm a black belt in karate. So my first time when I went and started martial arts, they get you to do you got your gi on and you feel like all hype and you're like all that, like as you're walking into your dojo. And I walk in and I got no belt, right? So you got to do these forms where you're like doing all these punches and stuff. And so they put me with this girl and she was like an orange belt. And I was like, ooh, someday I'm going to be an orange belt. Well, they had me, it's called sparring, where you go one-on-one with somebody, and it was point sparring. So you're not really supposed to connect with them. You're supposed to, just get real close. And so it would be like this, right? But you don't actually connect through. Well, at that point, I was new and my depth perception was not great. So we had to do a kia, which is where you basically have to yell out and you have to kia, right? So it's really fast and you go right to the base. Well, my depth perception was bad. She was like a 19-year-old girl. She had braces and I popped her, knocked her out. So as you can imagine, I felt horrible. Like all the voices in my head. I'm never going back to the dojo. I'm a complete idiot. Like the girl's nose is bleeding. She's laying on the mat. Of course, all the guys are like, yeah, that was awesome. So here's the thing. If we quit in failure, if we quit in opposition, we never progress to the place that our potential is. My potential in martial arts was so powerful. And it had nothing to do with me becoming a world champion mixed martial artist. It had to do with principles that I was learning in martial arts, principles about progress. And that's why those belts are so important. You know, you get your yellow belt, you want your orange belt. You get your orange belt, you want your green belt. You get your green belt, you want your black, red belt, right? So you're progressing forward. Well, in life, if we don't have set goals or measurements, we never see progress. So we get that, we start to suck wind and we start to realize that the things, the negative that are happening, we start to resonate them. And I just don't feel good enough. And the voices in my head, I'll never amount to anything. And maybe maybe I was, kidding myself to think that I could have my own store and that it would be, well, now what are you doing? You're resonating with the darkness. So the 1% method, this is what my TED Talk was about, is the 1% method is all about just micro distinctions of movement every day. So I talk about redefining the F word. The biggest F words of our life are faith, family, finance, fitness, and freedom. And I tell people, if you can just go 1% forward every day in those 5 things, just 1%, a penny double. Everybody says it's so tiny and people are throwing pennies away now. But a penny doubled just for 30 days equates to over $5 million due to compound interest or compounding effect. The same is with a small 1% percentage. And I know you teach this too. You teach this to your clients of that daily micro progress. Well, what does that look like in the area of family? Well, maybe tonight, instead of working late, come home 30 minutes early so that you could actually sit down, maybe have a story with your kids, maybe tuck them into bed, be able to look them in the eye. That 1% choice of coming home 30 earlier can change entirely your marriage, your sex life, your children's life, everything. One little thing. Maybe in the area of fitness, instead of watching the news tonight, get up off the couch and go for a walk. 1% move. And then just be consistent. Do it day after day after day. Every single area of our life can be improved with just 1% method.
And it's simple and easy. Well, it's easy to do. It's just the consistency factor, right? Because I think we live in a society,
right?
And being a chiropractor, this is the things we do. It's all about consistency, daily action, or consistent work over time changes in your neurology of your brain, how the brain's wired, and it helps you show up better as an individual to adapt to all changes of life. And it's interesting to, 1%. I love that. The penny thing, 1%. Every day you add a penny with a 1% interest. What is it? You said $5 million at the end of the year or something like that? Or at the end of the month?
Over 5 million in 30. Yeah, in 30 days. Crazy, right?
Crazy. Find out. I want to know where that.
But we don't think about those little moves.
No, we don't. We always want the big thing. I know that was me too. Like always wanting the big thing. I want the big thing. Forget the little stuff. And it's it's one of those things that I think it's just huge. Imagine, I love you sharing just the relationship side of that. Doing this little one thing, how much it can go to a certain degree and so much more. And I think if we as individuals can do that, that's huge. And you shared so many good things. I'm trying to digest everything you said because there's so many good things you were sharing, even with the COVID happening and seeing a different perspective, right? Coming from a solution-based model than the other model. It's true. It works. I know when COVID hit, it was end of February, I was having conversations with my wife and I'm like, okay, things are going to get real here. I'm already seeing trends. I'm in the health world. So I have not only chiropractors, a huge network I work with, but also I have some medical doctors and them, and I'm picking their brains and going, what are we feeling? What's the vibe here? Where are you guys hearing? And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, lockdowns are going to be coming. Okay, we're going to be doing this. All right. So I look at my wife and I'm like, well, we're going to thrive through this. I'm like, we're gonna start educating our patients about the thing of fear. We're gonna start teaching them that you don't want to get sucked into it. We're gonna give them support through immune system. We're gonna talk about everything and how they have the power to be. The power of you have the power at the end of the day. And we started to do that, and we started to look at my not to talk too much about me here, but my practice is 50% pediatrics. So my concern was the kiddos I take care of, especially the special needs, ADHDs, the autistic, and all those. And I'm like, they're going to suffer the most. So I'm like, how can we create solutions to help families? And we did. And the summer we were breaking records in the summer. And it's one of the things where I tell this story sometimes, and people are like, do you want to be sharing that? People are suffering and you're sharing this. I'm like, it's not, I'm not saying, oh, look how I killed it. It's not about that. I'm helping serve people, and I'm giving a solution, and look what's happening. We're people who did jump on board with us to help them. It was one of the things, even my coaching clients, reframing things, right? Changing perspectives. All coaching clients, and I don't say this in a way to be that way. It's just like what you're sharing. I'm trying to give like social proof. You don't need it, but I'm just sharing just sharing to the listeners. They all have thrived. Now, I'm not saying they didn't hit roadblocks or darknesses through this journey since it started, but they've all thrived in the sense that because of shifting, reframing mindsets, and looking at things from a different perspective, getting creative, creating solutions, all of a sudden now they're at a place where they're like, I can't believe I'm here. I've had 3 clients switch careers in the middle of all this, which people are like, what are you doing? You have a decent business of what you're doing, and you're going to switch everything over in the midst of this? And I was like, wow, don't worry about what they're saying. You got this. Let's frame it out. Let's look at how we need, what's the path? How are we going to do this? What's the step-by-step process? Like you were saying, here's the yellow belt here, or here's the white belt. Here's the yellow. I did kung fu I did a kung fu for a very short period of time. So yeah, whatever's next on the list, but mapping that out, and it's really powerful if people can do that.
Well, and that mind mapping, really what it is, it's about expansion. So this is what, so I have a nonprofit organization as well, and it is called Women, which stands for Empowering Women. And we work with women and girls who've been raped and molested and abused and gone through trafficking and you name it, just really, really rough. Some have been homeless, been living in their car. So when you work with people like you do, who come to you because they're suffering, people go to a chiropractor more often than not just for wellness, although they should just go to the chiropractor because I feel great. I just want to maintain my greatness. But oftentimes they wait till they have the tweak in the back. They wait till the sciatic nerve is acting up. They wait till something feels off, and then they want you to fix it, right? Well, there's a realm, and this is where when I talk about consciousness, there's realms of consciousness. And so there's the human realm, which means everything that is above what I would call the spiritual consciousness. And that's when we're awake, when it's form, it's matter, it's what we feel. It's the things that we can pick up. Even when we sleep, we're elevating slightly, but we're still in our human consciousness because we're inside this human body. But there's another realm. And this is what I want. This is what Fueled by Fire is all about. This is even what we do in our company, is helping businesses think outside of the realm that most people think. And I call it the boom factor, right? Boom stands for break out of mediocrity. So people are thinking mediocre right now. They're thinking like they're kind of walking to the drumbeat of whatever they see on TV. And that's my reality. It's not your reality. Your reality is that you get to decide what realm you want to live in. Now, if you want to live in the realm of form and matter, you want to be earthbound. In my faith, there's actually a scripture that says you're in this world, but not of this world. So that means that you're going to be locked down to gravity. But you don't have to let your head and your mind and your thoughts conform to reality. You can actually stay, and this sounds a little crazy, but a little more heavenly minded. That means that I can walk into a place of homelessness. In 2017, my husband and I woke up one morning, we were at the peak of our career, crushing it in business, crushing it in life. Marriage was great. We were that, selfie couple traveling all over the world, showing how great life is. And I woke up and I had this dream, and there was a little song that said, will you say yes? Will you sacrifice your life? Will you say yes? Would you have raised the knife? There's a story about a father who had to raise the knife to his son, and God came in and stepped in. Would you say yes, or would you turn and walk away? Will you say yes to me today? Well, I'm thinking I'm writing a new song. Like Staci Singer is on the comeback. I'm going to be like winning a Grammy Award. I get up at 3:00 in the morning and I'm realizing this isn't a song. I'm being asked to do something extraordinary right now. And in my space, some people call it the universe, some people call it higher power. I just call it God. I felt like he was saying, will you walk away from everything? Would you be willing to give up your money, your house, your cars, your title, and trust me? Just trust me. And my husband got up a little bit later, a few hours later, and I had been crying and meditating. And I said to him, I think I'm supposed to walk away from my corporate position. Was number one. I was winning the awards. I was on stage. Everybody saying, can I want to be like you. I want to do what you do. And I made the choice to walk away from it. And I just kept hearing detachment is the gateway to abundance. I just kept hearing that detachment is the gateway to abundance. And, it doesn't make sense when you're just living life. Why would I detach from my money? Why would I give away everything that we've got in our savings or in our investments? Why would I detach from the stock market? Why would I detach from the healthcare system? Why would I detach from my normal church routine, going to church every single Sunday so that somebody could spoon feed me a message? Why would there be a reason for detachment? So I did that. I every day I would get up and I'd birth M women in that season. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to give. I'm going to give of my life, of my talents, of my business acumen. I'm going to find women that I can help. 1 month later, my husband wakes up and he comes into me and he says, I feel like I'm supposed to do the same thing. I'm like, what? And he said, I feel like we're supposed to go full 100% all in. So we did that. And Vic, we did that. The first 6 months was crazy because we did give till we had nothing left. We were the event coordinators for a big event. We fed 10,000 homeless people at Christmas with everything from food to sleeping bags to a huge Christmas for their kids. It was 10,000 is a lot of people, huge event. And that 6 months, we began to realize that there is another realm of consciousness that is not attached to things. And unless you've experienced that type of meditation, unless you've experienced that type of disconnectedness from the 7 pillars of influence, which are like entertainment and media and healthcare and even our church. Like I'm a real faith-based woman, but there's something to the addiction of just going on Sunday and thinking and that's why people say there's a lot of hypocrites, because it's a once a week thing to go. And then the rest of the week, I don't live out the practice of really what that faith says. So our kids, we had to teach our kids how to actually experience God without lights and music and fog machines and all of the big boom that's going on in church. And it became the most unbelievable setup for us for 2020. In 2019, I kept feeling like something, or 2018, I kept feeling like something was going to happen in 2020. I kept saying it to my husband. Something's going to happen in 2020. The more we detach, the more I hear, get ready for 2020. Sell your house. We wanted to get an RV. We had wanted it for about a year and a half. So all through 2019, we were in this space of not working for a company, having less than we had ever had in our life. Like my kids would come and they were 16 or 17 and 18 and my son needed a belt. I was like, you're going to get a job, right? My daughter is like, Mom, I need to go to Sephora. I'm like, baby girl, Chick-fil-A is hiring. You need to go get a job. And that detachment though, and this is what I mean by consciousness. If you can get out of the normal, mundane, mediocre consciousness, I believe God, the universe, will prep you for big things. So we were prepped going into 2020 that when everybody else was freaking out because they couldn't go to church on Sunday, we were like, we're good. When people were freaking out because they were, unfortunately attached to the healthcare system in a way that, man, they just couldn't see their normal doctor, we were good. When people were affected by the stock market, we were good. So more is not always better. Now we're in a place of abundance again. We've stepped back into corporate America. We're crushing it right now. Our businesses have expanded by 20% throughout COVID. And I don't say that to grind into the people, a lot of people around us who suffered through 2020, but the people in close proximity to us, so that we could teach them these principles. Every one of our homeless women have a home. Every one of our women who were devastated by life circumstances are thriving, even through COVID. Our friends, the people that are closest to us, haven't suffered through COVID, haven't even been affected by COVID. So I really believe, and I know this is a lot, I believe there's another place. I believe there's a benefit of elevating, as you say, into those states of consciousness to where you can see clearly, where you can hear clearly, where you know that you know that you know. There's rhetoric on all sides of the political table. What if I was an eagle? Instead of being a chicken down here pecking, what if I broke through the rhetoric, through the storm? What happens on the other side? I'll tell you what happens on the other side. Clarity, vision, solutions, ideas, funnels, side hustles. But you got to be able to elevate past the mediocre thinking.
That's so true in so many ways. I think of the Matrix when you're talking, because like the Matrix is what keeps we have the governors of the beings who keep things in order, so they keep the story perpetuating forward. And you can see it on social media. Oh no, that's not true. That's fake news. No, you're fake news. This is fake news. And what people don't realize is you're actually keeping the story going instead of breaking through, or some people call it taking the red pill. And once you take that red pill, you see life in a whole different realm. It's not fun in the beginning. That's why I love the Matrix in so many different ways, because it isn't fun in the beginning when you go through that journey, because you're starting to realize everything was false, or it was just a pretense, and how many people get behind it. It becomes this story. And then once you break through that, then it's like, hold up, wait a minute. This life, I can see the games now. I can see how things are being played. I can see the strings that are being pulled. And I tell people all the time, you still get played every once in a while because you're human. You can dive back in, but the aspect of it is, how do you stay above that level? How can you do that? And you can call that many different things. You can call it a spiritual mindset. You can call it your true self. You can call it
right
XYZ. I don't get into the labels. I'm like, whatever works for you. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever
Just
works
do
for
it,
you.
right?
Exactly.
Just figure it out. I got to do this. I'm like, can you get Larry for me real quick? This is crazy. We are so tapped in right now to the same. No, I'm serious. So, the company that I am executive vice president of strategy for is called VoxOx. This is crazy. So we just put together, it's called the Matrix Flow. So no, this is funny. I got to show you this. So I'm going to ask my husband. Fortunate he looks good today. So you never know, guys. Okay, come here for a second. So I'm going to give you this so that you can hear. So we're live, and okay, this is fun. Okay, so we're talking about consciousness and not being in the system and getting caught in. And what does he bring up? He brings up the Matrix and the red pill. And so, no, I want you to do this. So this is so cool. So we're in this season of having to innovate solutions. We're trying to think of ways, how do we make text message marketing? Because we want to teach people how to create community, while other people are like, I can't reach my clients. I can't reach my clients because email marketing only gets 20% open rate. Yeah. But text message marketing gets 98% open rate. Yeah. The problem is it's a modality shift, right? It's another pivot. So people are like, oh, but I just got MailChimp and Constant Contact all set up, and I've got such pretty videos, which is awesome. But if people aren't opening them, you're stuck. You need people to actually be seeing. So we're teaching people how to use text message marketing effectively. So Larry comes up with this crazy matrix flow in text message marketing. So you got your phone there in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell them the flow.
Yeah. So it's really easy. All you need to do is open up your text message app, your SMS app, and then just type in the number 855-900-8401. That's 855-900-8401. And then just type in the word matrix and hit send. And from that point on, you can just follow the prompts, because it'll walk you down a path.
You'll either choose the blue pill or the red pill.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and whatever pill you choose, it's going to take you down a path. Right. That. And, but that's
the thing about it though, is that it showcases a lot of features that we have inside of our text messaging app. And it's going to be able to showcase how someone can pre-automate an entire path on how to use our text message marketing platform to be able to help their business, and it be a done-for-you system. And all you have to do is just set up one time and then let people use it.
So the point was, I wasn't trying to sell the text marketing system. I was just saying there's a state, but here's what's cool. We're in this flow. Other people can get in this flow. And we're in this flow, Vic, it's innovation, creativity, ideas, witty inventions, but it's through the clouds, right?
Yes.
So while we're creating solutions in a season where seems to be great opposition, other people are stuck just thinking about the opposition. And I just say to your listeners, get in the realm where there is light, where there is positive energy. And if you're not surrounded by those people, like, you need to be telling everybody to listen to Vic's podcast, because that proximity of what you're putting in your head is going to determine whether you're through the clouds or whether you're under the clouds and under the opposition.
It's so true. I mean, it's like I always tell people too. It's like you the guardians of the mind. I was told this from a coach he heard it from his coach, and one of the things, and like, who do you have at the mind that you guard, and what do you allow in, what you don't allow in. And I've done podcast episodes on this where I talk about it, and it's very critical. People don't think of mind food, right? Now,
right.
As a chiropractor, I can dive into mind food and what feeds your brain, from, good spinal hygiene to making sure there's communication properly in the nervous system. But I can get into, fish oil and all this other stuff too. But then there's also the opposite of that. And what do you give energy to, right? What do you give power to? And it's all about like giving your power away. We give into the fear. We give into this, and we give into the other things. And it's like, then you wonder, a month, 2, 4, 6 months down the road, you're at a place in your life and you're like, how did I get here? I'm in a rut, and instead it's like, hold on, what were you giving your attention to? What were you engaging in? And it's one of those things where it's so true in so many ways. And I just don't think a lot of people don't, they do it to a certain degree and then they don't. Like, they'll jump on and they get away. And I think if they really understood, it's kind of like, and nothing against McDonald's, I don't want to have them coming at me, but having McDonald's every day. If you eat it every single day, that's bad. You're putting junk into the body, pretty much. And long story short, what are those cells going to turn into down the road? Same thing with the mind. What are you putting into the mind? And that's going to determine how you're going to be able to handle things and deal with things, especially with something like this. Because even my wife was worried because there was lockdowns coming. And she's like, are you worried about us locking down? I mean, I'm like, well, financially, we'll get through it. We've prepared for stuff like this just in case. And I'm like, but the other thing is, I'm like, I'll wait till the time comes. And I'm like, I don't think we're going to, but I'm like, I'll wait till the time comes. And then we are essential. But it was one of the things where I was like, and I'm like, I've meditated and I've done all these things for years upon years. That's why I don't get caught up into things as much, because I'm like, we'll just see what shows up. And when it comes, we'll take action and do what we have to do. And not get stuck into the matrix.
It's such a, yeah, it's so true. And man, if we can just figure out to have a pill that unplugs people from it, right? Like, if we could just, and that's really what these podcasts are. They're bullets, right? They're pills. We're doing what we can do to help get into the consciousness of people who are stuck in the rut, and, helping them become world changers, history makers. I believe the greatest voices of our time have not even been heard. And a lot of people right now, you're thinking, nobody knows who I am. I feel neglected. I feel rejected. I feel overlooked. Maybe switch that just a little bit. Maybe instead of feeling like you've been overlooked, maybe you've just been preserved for such a time as this. Maybe the world didn't need your voice up until now, but now the world needs your voice. The world needs your story. Every person has a story, and every story can change the world. And so maybe you're coming into your best days, your finest hours. Maybe everything else was just, it was high school basketball prep to get you to where you could play in the big leagues. And now is the time. This is the place. You are the one to now go, wait a minute. What if I went all the way back to my original dream? And what if life's not over, but what if now I'm ready? What if now my life is ready? My marriage is ready. My kids are ready. My body's ready. What if now is my time? Well, start thinking that way. You're going to start thinking expansion. You're going to start thinking innovation and creativity, and you'll be a much better contributor to the universe that we all have to live in and we all have to experience.
I love it, Staci. I could talk to you for hours. There's a lot of I want to say harmony, coherence going on here, and just connection.
Yeah.
But real quick, how can people connect with you really quick? How can they know what you're up to, follow you, see what you're doing, and all the amazing things that you're up to?
Yeah. Well, personally, you just go to @Staci Wallace. It's StaciWallace, all across all channels. If you're a lady and you're a boss lady and you want to know how to increase your influence and increase your power, then go to the Fueled by Fire community on Facebook. We just started it. It's got thousands of women coming together. It's Fueled by Fire community. And then, of course, if you want to figure out how you can use text message marketing, it's boxox.com. And you can reach me through any of those portals and be able to, let's do some great things together. I really believe in collaboration, that it equates to expansion. And the better we collaborate and create proximity with other great thinkers and other great businesses, the more we're going to make life better for many. So I'm excited about that.
Couldn't agree with you more. And the text messaging is the way to go. I've been hearing so much about it. So love to hear that. And I'll definitely be enjoying the matrix on my text messaging going on right now.
Yeah, check it out. I would love it. Yeah, well, we'll get you hooked up for sure. I mean, we'd love to be able to just hook you up with a service and let you use it for your tribe. And, I'm getting ready to launch a new website. My old website's still up, but it's staciwallace.com. And you're going to see a lot of this, we're going to be giving a lot of free training away. 2021 is going to be a real year of me investing into the lives of others on a coaching level, which is something I've been out of because of my corporate experience for the last year. And so staciwallace.com, people can check that out too.
Awesome. Good. Staci, it was a pleasure. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking time in the space to be here with us and all the listeners to tune in and share your wonderful story and also all the amazing, I call it life nuggets or wisdom nuggets or golden, whatever you want to call it, with the listeners and so much more. Thank you for listening to the podcast. For past shows, please visit www.empoweryourreality.com. I hope this show inspired you and added to your life to help you on the journey to rediscover who you really are. To connect with us on Facebook, please visit www.facebook.com/Dr. Vic Manzo. Check us out on Twitter. The handle is Dr. Vic21. Follow us on Instagram, www.instagram.com/Dr. Vic Manzo. If you were inspired by the podcast, pay it forward by sharing it with someone who you know can benefit from it. Thank you again for listening to the Mindful Experiment podcast, sharing paths to help you rediscover your infinite potential.